Macca's Guides.
Hey guys, Mac here. We're continuing with the Dead Space Collectibles Guide. This is part 2. This will cover chapters 5 through 10. Starting off with chapter 5, this is the very beginning. You will open access to these doors. There is a smooth transition between chapter 4 and 5, so keep that in mind. And that'll be your first collectible. That is a weapon part. And moving on, this next room here, you see the little cockpit. There's 4 or 5 collectibles here. That audio log, turn around, there's an artifact on the ground. And then turn around, head up the stairs. If you keep along the left side of the wall, I believe you'll find a circuit in the little cupboard there. Yep, it's a circuit. And then if we move a little more forward, we see an item there on the ground, which is a text log. This mission does have 24 collectibles, so it is kind of lengthy. Weapon part number 2. When we learn how to use our telekinesis to blow up enemies, there'll be a little tutorial there. If you take the right hand turn instead of continuing on, you'll find it. This is log 3. We're still in chapter 5. You'll come to this room and you'll be attacked by some enemies. There's a workbench. You can't miss this one. It's on the left hand side desk there. We're moving on to collectible number 8, which is circuit number 2 at the Force Station. We'll open up the door and you'll see this exact room. This is the dam station, and if you run forward here on the right hand side wall, you'll find the circuit. You do revisit this room, so if you missed it, you can always find it later. There's 3 collectibles in this area here. You can't really miss it. You'll descend by an elevator, and once you get out of the elevator, turn right, you'll find that audio log. You can see the text that comes from it on the bottom of my screen, and then just follow it along into the middle of this area and you can find 2 more collectibles right there. Log 6, this is the 12th collectible of the chapter. Once we descend down a broken elevator, you'll get a little message that says CMS Terra Nova Cradle Ops, and the audio log's almost unmissable. Artifact number 2, you'll learn how to use your telekinesis to stab enemies with their own limbs, and then just ascend up the ladder, and the artifact is right there. This one's pretty much you can't miss it. Now we're doing the optional mission of Conning Tower, and this is where the rest of the collectibles for this chapter would be located. There are none after this, so if you choose to skip it, you can always come back to it. Once you do the first section, you'll find that weapon part, and you'll find the key. There is an audio log to the right. That does not count to chapter 5. That counts towards chapter 6, so keep that in mind. If you miss it, you have to come back to it. Just press it. It'll make your life a little bit easier. Now, chapter 5, a little later on, we're going for circuit 3. You'll destroy this electricity gate. You'll run through these 2 doors here, and once you go through the door, on your right hand side, you'll find a little circuit just against that area there. Moving on, we are now looking for collectibles number 16 and 17. You'll get this little gravity restraint here. We'll climb down. You'll have to use the workbench to get a tungsten torque bow. If you don't have tungsten, try to get some in the mission, and you can backtrack to this area. You will need one. I suggest you just use some of your tungsten and make sure you have 2 or 3 on hand at all times. Go through the 2 doors, climb up the ladder. You will have to defeat a few enemies here. This is actually on your way through the mission, and the door is right there. You're going to install your tungsten torque bow and then use your TK to just tap B, make sure you open that door. And inside this room, you will find 2 collectibles. Once you're inside the room, they're almost unmissable. Just keep in mind, you will need the tungsten there to get in and whatnot. So once you get those 2, pretty simple. We're continuing on with the optional mission of Conning Tower. By the way, the next collectible in chapter 5 is an artifact 18 of 24. We're going to get to the engine room. Once we're in the engine room, it's going to look like this. Climb down the ladder, and then once you get to the bottom of the ladder, keep left, and there is an artifact against this worker's bench here. This one's not too bad. A lot of them are really spaced out in this mission, which is unfortunate. That's why the guide is so long. Log 7, in this room with the fan, you have to slow down to continue on. You'll find a log just against this desk here. This one's pretty simple as well. And we are getting there slowly through chapter 5, slowly but surely. Log 8, you're going to start backtracking, and you're going to go to the 2nd floor using this elevator. Just use your indicator if you're not sure where to go. And on the 2nd floor, we'll find a text log on that desk. Go back in the elevator and now go up to the 3rd floor, and this is where you'll end up. There are 4 collectibles in this area. go up to this middle area and play that audio log. I think it plays automatically, but make sure it's playing by going up to it and clicking on it. And if you have the same subtitles as me here, you will have unlocked it. Now just take this lift up and make sure you have the access card from floor 2 to open that door. Once you open that door, I believe there are 3 more collectibles here. There's 2 circuits and 1 weapon part. The weapon part is called the medic support, and the 2 circuits are just have generic circuit names. I'll let the title circuit cycle through for you guys so you know which ones to get. And now we're moving on to chapter 6, which only has 5 collectibles, and we've already done one. The first collectible for chapter 6 is actually a log, and it's at the mid station if you take the tram. You probably get it during chapter 5 if you did the optional mission. Here you see me picking up a weapon part from chapter 5. I pick up the tower key, and right next to it there's an audio log. I picked it up in chapter 5, but I'm showing you guys again because it is part of chapter 6 for some weird reason. Now, we're moving on. This is the first weapon part of this chapter. You're going to get to this big room with a big ship in the middle. You can either take the gondola across, or you can run to the very left side and use your TK to lift over that weapon part. It is, I don't even know, stasis support. And if you don't have enough TK, you can just run over to the other side. Now, we're going to take a lift a little bit further on the mission, probably another 5 minutes in. We're going to take a lift up to the command center, I guess you would call it. And once we're here, you're going to run to the very end of the room, and on that wall there's a little pack, and inside there is this circuit. Pretty easy. Next is circuit number 2 in chapter 6. This is 4 or 5, and you'll get to this part where you turn on the ship and there's a bunch of fire, and you'll want to get to this exact part, wait for the fire to leave, and then climb down this ladder. At the bottom of this ladder there is a collectible. Keep in mind, if you die and you restart the checkpoint, or you're forced to restart the checkpoint rather, you have to collect it every time or else it won't save. So make sure you get it if you die. And now the only artifact in the chapter, it's when you come to this outdoor space, you'll see Terra Nova space dock. You'll fly towards this big thing here, and as soon as you start flying, right when you pass over the first edge, look straight down, you'll see a floating artifact. You can actually get this during chapter 4, and you can get it through a bunch of chapters, but keep that in mind. Chapter 7, there are no collectibles. Yay! Chapter 8, there are 11. At the very, very, very beginning, this is the very beginning, just walk forward. You'll get an achievement if it's your first time, and on the ground glowing red there is a weapon part, I believe. Moving on, we have this little cinematic where you crash and you get up and you'll look right at this right in front of you. Just turn to your left and you'll have, I believe, what is a circuit just chilling there. And that one's not too bad actually either. This is probably one of the easier chapters in terms of log and all that, all the collectible locations. Next, you'll be next to a pipeline. Follow that pipeline until you see an HU, which is a hospitality unit, I hope. And once you get inside, you have to power the generator, which will automatically trigger an audio log, which does count towards the collectibles. And there is a text log on the desk. So that's the text log. Pick that one up. And now power the generator and make sure that you hear, or if you have subtitles, make sure you see the same text that I have right there on the screen, and that will trigger for sure your audio log. And then obviously if you die, make sure you redo this part. Very, very shortly after that, we'll climb up this big ladder and we'll get to RS10. There's a tower called that, and it has a big sign on it. I'll show you here. This is for a blueprint, by the way. Once we get inside, this one's a little bit hard to miss if you don't really pay attention. Once you get inside, the main objective is right there. I'm pointing at it right now, and across from that in the room is the bolus gun blueprint, and that's, I believe, the 5th collectible out of 11. Next on, moving on to circuit 2. When you take the lift, right after that tower, you'll take a lift down, you'll see this pipeline. There's 2 ways to get this. The first way, you can go through here, look through the window, and use your TK to bring it to you. That's pretty easy. Or you can just run down, get into the pipeline. That's where you want to go to progress through the mission, and that is where the circuit is lying. So now we're moving on to the next collectible. I believe there are 2. Yep, this is the first artifact and a weapon part together. So once the pipeline crashes and you walk down to base level, right in front of you will be an artifact, you'll want to get to this ladder and climb up. There will be a lot of enemies. I just kind of try to fast forward for you guys here. Once you do climb up the ladder, just walk to the edge and you'll pick up an artifact. Now, just for reference purposes, I have the next collectible chained together with this part of the video, just because it's a lot easier to kind of show exactly where I'm going in terms of where everything is on this map. And it's really snowy, it's kind of hard to see where you're going, and I don't want you guys to get lost, because I know that's frustrating, especially because there's actually no markers that show you like where the waypoint is, where you want to go. So you kind of have to just go based off of what you know. So now we're running back towards the pipeline. That is the exit of the broken pipeline. So if you come out of it and you want to kind of retrack your steps, you'll make a right-hand turn, like a U-turn around these things. And basically under the pipeline, under the beginning of the pipeline is a hospitality unit, HU right there. Inside, I believe there is a weapon part and it's a compressor. Keep in mind there are a lot of enemies. I just ran by them. I'm on normal. If you're on normal, you can kind of run by them for the most part during specific sections. But that is the next weapon part. And now there are 3 more. We're going to get them all in one go here. There's 2 logs and the last weapon part. Here's where the ladder to the artifact that I just picked up, that's what I just passed in the video. You'll see a hospitality unit right in front of it, and you'll just want to open the door to that unit. And inside the door there are 2 logs similar to the ones we saw before. There's one audio log that's triggered just because you turn on the power, and then there's a text log on the ground. So I'll show you those right here. That generator will power an audio log. You'll see the subtitles on the bottom of the screen as always. And then if you look behind you, there's a white glowing text log. So that's the 2 logs. And I'll show you the monitor just in case you want to replay it, just for extra precautions. And now we're going to continue through this hospitality unit, and I'm going to show you exactly where to run to get the last weapon part for this chapter. Keep in mind, this is very important. Just follow the flares, by the way, for the most part. Very, very important note, you can pick up collectibles for chapter 9 in this section of chapter 8. I recommend that you don't, just for simplicity's sake. It'll make your life a lot easier when you're trying to keep track of which collectibles you have gotten and which you haven't. So I recommend that from here you try to finish the mission and don't pick up any other collectibles, even if you stumble upon them. Chapter 9, let's start it. This is the beginning of chapter 9. There's 30 collectibles in this chapter. Right at the beginning, we're going to turn left, head through the door, and this is basically part of the mission here. And once you're in this room, there is a weapon part. Just pick it up, and you'll need to spin this generator to kind of continue on through. Pretty easy. Right after that, we'll descend down an elevator and come up to this part where we did the Hungry achievement. And if you, in the kitchen, turn right to get the first collectible there. And now just continue on through. I did have to kill all the feeders just because it was really hard to get any of these with them kind of lurking around. So I did kill them all, just so you know. We're continuing straight from there in the same area. Just go through 2 more doors, and then you'll have an audio log basically right in front of you. You can't miss this one as long as you go up to it and click A. Make sure you get the text that comes up on the bottom. We're going through to the next room. In the next room, it's right behind that wall that is in front of us. So just go around it and pick up a circuit that's on the ground. And now we're going for the artifact, which is in the next room. Once you open the door, there'll be a little area on the left-hand side with an artifact inside there. So that's how you get 4 of those pretty easily. And the next collectible is a weapon part. This is weapon part 3. Right after you get to this main engine room here, using stasis on the spikes, you'll pick up this thing using your telekinesis. That's the only way to get it, and then you can press A to pick it up. And now log 2 and blueprint 1, you'll ascend up this ladder, go through this area. This is right after the engine room, I believe. You'll pick up a key on the desk. This will trigger an audio log, which you can see the text on the bottom. And then on the desk next to it, you can have a handgun blueprint. And blueprints aren't needed for the achievement, but I am showing them, and I think it's better if you just pick them up anyways. Log 3, right at the end of this section, you'll pick up a snowsuit. You'll get through this fence here, and on the other side of the fence is a audio log, which you will have to trigger on your own, and this will trigger the optional mission, which is Supply Depot. And I'm going to show you all the collectibles of Supply Depot, assuming we go in order here and play the optional mission right away. In the first room, you'll have an audio log right next to that snow vehicle. And then in the next room, you'll have a text log. There is another collectible in that area, kind of, but we're gonna revisit it because it's on the way. Anyways, log 6. This is number 12 of 30 for this mission. You're gonna come to this room, and there's an audio log just sitting on the desk. Pretty easy right there. This is a little further on. Just trying to get a quick reference point. Okay, so you'll come to this room where you have to move an energy box. I don't know what they're called. Power box to a receptacle. If you put it in the middle receptacle, you can open this side door right here. And inside that door, there is, I believe, a weapon part. There is an enemy or two, so just kill them really quick. And we'll take a look. It's orange, which, yep, that is a weapon part. It's the repeater. Now, log 7, you're going to go up a cargo lift and stick to your right-hand side. Run around through this door, and there might be enemies in here. I've already cleared them out. As soon as you get in here, there's a workbench and a text log across from it. Pretty easy as well, basically on your way. Blueprint number 2. This is still during the optional mission. You'll lower this gate, get attacked by a bunch of enemies. Then you'll kind of, once you clear them, you'll pass through this area. Now, that's where you would normally go. You do need a tungsten torque bow here. Once you put it on, just spin that thing. And I believe there are 2 collectibles in here. We'll double check really quick once we get in here. But you will need a tungsten torque bow. I do recommend you have 2 or 3 of them on you at all times. And sorry, that's only 1 blueprint. That's a heavy metal thunder blueprint. Now we have log 8 and artifact 2. We come out of this elevator, and the audio log is basically directly in front of us. Then just take the door next to it. Follow the indicator on your map. And once you're in this room, just go to the right hand side, hug the wall, and you'll find an artifact lying there. Now, just start shooting some stuff and trying to open some doors, and a lot of enemies will attack you in this room. Clear all the enemies out, and you'll lower this platform in the middle. In that platform, there are 2 circuits and a weapon part. The weapon part is a scope, and the 2 circuits are just generic circuits. These are your second and third circuits of this mission. Once you pick those up, I'm letting just the titles cycle through so you know what they're called. And once we get this, we're going to kind of start backtracking back to the beginning of the mission. This is log 9. We are still on Supply Depot, just so you guys know. On the way out, you're going to come to this part here. There's a workbench on my left, and right beside it, there is an audio log. Go up to it, click A, and obviously, again, verify that the text is coming up and that you hear that to make sure it's worked. Circuit 4, right after you come out of an elevator, there will be a bunch of enemies in here. You're supposed to go through that door. There's 3 white lit lockers on the left-hand side of this room, and there is a circuit on the wall. Now, for weapon part 6, which is 23 out of 30, still in the supply depot, this is the first room that we started in, and I'm on my way out of the map. Depot 212. This is the same Depot 212 as when we started it. You can go up this elevator. Once we reach the top of the elevator, you just want to go forward, and at the very end of the hallway, turn your head to the right and see the weapon part on the shelving there. And this one I prefer getting on the way back. It's just a little bit easier in terms of organizing yourself, if that makes sense. Now, weapon part 7, 24 of 30. We're already done the optional mission, and now we're just continuing with chapter 9 after we've done it. Follow your waypoint marker until you get to this little hut. Once we get to this hut, there will be a Tesla core, which is a weapon part, sitting on the desk inside right there. Bam, press A. I'll show you guys the little confirmation message. You'll pick it up. Now we have weapon part 8, blueprint 3, log 10, and artifact 3. This is when you'll be asked to put in Dead Space 3 Disc 2 if you are using a disc. And this is right after we defeat a big monster. You almost can't miss that weapon part on the bench. And then right after it, just go up this ladder, and there's 3 more collectibles inside this room. In order, there is, I believe that's a blueprint for a pulse rifle, then a text log, and around the corner is an artifact. That's 4 collectibles in this little area here. Right after we defeated a big spider-looking monster. And now we are on the last 2 of chapter 9. This is the last log, which is 11, and circuit 5. There's 5 total circuits. You'll get to this part in the quarry. You'll be asked to kind of go to the left. Make sure you go to this side. Do the mini game to open these doors. Now you'll have your first text, your last text log right there on the bench. Continue through this door, and right after the door on the left hand side, you'll have a circuit sitting on the wall. You will get attacked by a lot of enemies here. Keep that in mind. You can run away, but you should know that. Chapter 10. There's only 8 here. This is the very, very beginning of Chapter 10. You'll have this little cinematic here. You will need another tungsten torque bow. Go up to the bench first and activate the audio log. Now install the torque bow right there and open the door. There is a workbench just right across that door, like in the same room behind where you spawn if you need to build it. And then just open this door. This take a little bit of time to load, and inside that door there is a weapon part, which is the pneumatic something. It's actually a really good weapon to equip. Chapter 10, this is weapon part 2, 3 of 8. You'll come to this room with a suit kiosk, and it's going to be right next to it. You have to go to this room, so don't even worry. It's not a big deal. It's kind of hard to miss, but it's there for you guys. Now, Artifact 1, you'll come to this section where there's a bunch of minecarts on a little track here, and I'm going to show you the waypoint marker where it shows you to go. You're supposed to go through those 2 doors, but once we reach those 2 doors, turn to your right, and there'll be a white glowing artifact, and we can then move on and continue the mission. Shortly after this, there's weapon part 3. You'll come to this room and descend down a ladder. The weapon part, I believe it's a weapon part, or it's a, sorry about that. It is a weapon part. You just have to pick it up using your telekinesis from behind the ladder, and that is pretty easy. Now, Circuit 1 and Weapon Part 4, this is in the coring station. As you can see on screen, it shows that, and there's a huge drill in the front. As soon as you walk in, hold to your right side, and you'll see a circuit board on the wall there. Run down the hall, and you'll see a weapon part just chilling on the desk. So pick that up, and there you go. We're coming to the end of Part 2. This is the last collectible, Artifact 2 of Chapter 10. You'll take this cargo lift, and the waypoint will tell you to continue to your left. Just make sure you go straight, and in this little area there's an artifact. If this did help you out, help me out by liking the video. Leave a comment if you want to say hi, and I'll see you guys in part 3 hopefully. Peace!